YouTube, what is good, man? Today I'm gonna be showing you guys how to do a taper, all right? And I'm gonna try to make it as easy and as simple as I possibly can, because tapers were a struggle for me early on in my barbering career, just because you have to work in a really small area and you have to blend into all different length types that the client has. And I know I can't be the only one, so today I'm gonna try my best to break it down really simple for you guys so you guys can achieve a clean taper. But without further ado, let's get to it. So we are going to start off this cut by creating our bald line, and this isn't really going to be a low or high taper, it's more of a mid taper. So I'm setting in that bald line a little below the ear here, and now I'm going to go ahead and bald out the bottom, letting the weight of the trimmer do the work, because I do not want to cause any irritation on the client's neck. And now we're going to set in our bald line on the side of his head. So I'm going to go where the ear connects to the head and where the eyebrow kind of ends off, and I'm going to give it kind of a round type of shape when setting in that bald line. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to go ahead and bald it out, and I like to set in all my bald lines first just to get that, out the way, since I already have the trimmer in my hand. And now I'm going to use my shaver to go ahead and bald it out, get it a little bit closer to the skin. And now we're going to follow that step up, going in with our lever all the way open, and we're going up about a ½ inch here, keeping that same kind of, bursted out shape. And now to get rid of that line, I'm going to go in close and gradually open that lever. So I'm using the corner of the blade here. Reason being is because when you're doing a taper, you're working in a small area, so to avoid taking off too much, I'm using the corner of my blade here to get this line blended out. And now we are going to follow that up with our one guard all the way open, and we're going to set in that next line. And you'll see me just constantly brush in between every pass of the clipper. And now to get rid of that line that I just pointed out, I'm going to come in with my half guard all the way open, still using the corner of that blade, and then you'll see me gradually go ahead and close that lever until that line is as blended out as possible. And now I'm going to move on to my 2 guard all the way open, and with this guard I'm not really setting in a line. I'm trying my best to blend into that length on the side as best as possible. So you'll see me really use that flick out motion here to go ahead and kind of blend into the sides. And now I'm going to go ahead and close it to go ahead and lighten up that line right between that 1.5 and 2 guard open. And now to get rid of it, I'm going to come in with my 1.5 all the way open, still using the corner of that blade, trying to attack those dark spots. And then you'll see me close that lever just a little to go ahead and get it fully blended. And you'll see me try to go against the grain of the hair, because towards his ear it kind of grows towards his ear. So I'm going to come back in with my 1 guard open, since I couldn't get rid of all the lines with that 1.5. And I'm really utilizing the corner of my blade here to go ahead and get this taper as blended as we can possibly get it. And now to soften everything up and blend into the sides and top, I'm going to go ahead and grab my thinning shears, and we're just going to go ahead and attack those dark areas that we see. And now we're going to blend down into his kind of sideburn beard situation going on. So it's just the opposite taper really. So I went in open, and then I got rid of that line, and then I grabbed my 1 guard open, and that should blend right into his beard. And now we're gonna go on to the other side, and we're gonna be doing the same exact steps as we did on the side that we just completed. So I'm going in open here, and then you'll see me go ahead and come in with my clipper closed, and then I'll gradually start to open that lever as I move up. And now I'm going to go ahead and follow that up with my 1 guard open. And what rounding out or giving that burst effect to the taper does is it preserves the darkness and keeps that weight around the lineup area. So So when we go ahead and line it up, it's super sharp and crisp. But I'm still going ahead right here with my one guard open. And now to get rid of that line in between, I'm coming in with my half guard all the way open. And then I'll go ahead and close that lever gradually. And the reason I always start off open with trying to set in a line or take out a line is because you can always take hair off, but you can't put it back on. And what keeping the lever open does is, it keeps the hair longer. So I want to start off longer and move shorter when removing a line, so I don't risk taking off too much and having to raise that taper even higher. So we just completed the 2 guard step, and now I'm going to come in with my 1.5 open. Still using the corner of that blade, and then you'll see me go ahead and close that lever as needed. Just working with that clipper, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And as you can see, we just working. We just trying to figure out, how to get that line out. Being patient with it, not trying to rush through the process. And the 1.5 wasn't doing the job, so again, I grabbed my 1 guard. And we're just attacking those dark spots, trying to get this taper as fluid and as blended as we can possibly get it. Came back to my 2 guard here. And now, like I did on the other side, I grabbed my thinning shears, and we're just going to attack those dark areas. So the transition from that, taper up into the length on the sides is really nice and fluid. And now we're going to blend into his beard. So I'm coming in close and then gradually opening that lever. And then I'm going to follow it up with the 1 guard. And that should pretty much blend into the length on the beard. And now we're going to go ahead and go to the back taper. So I'm hitting the bottom with the shaver, getting it really close to the skin. And now, just like we done on the sides, we're going to follow the same exact steps. But I am going to widen up my guidelines just slightly. And that's because we have a lot more canvas or surface area to work with on the back of his head. So I went in open, and then to get rid of that line, I'm going to come in closed. And then start to gradually open that lever until that line is as blended as we can get it. And you can see how that line is already, getting blended out. Now we're going to follow it up with our 1 guard all the way open. And you can already see how I'm widening up that guideline a lot more than I did on the side. And that's just because, like I said, it's a wider area to work with, a bigger area to work with. So I want to make sure that I'm giving myself room to have a nice clean blend. And now to lighten up that line just a little, I went ahead and closed that lever right under the 1 guard open. And it's not going to get rid of it fully, but it's just going to lighten it up. So when I come in with my half guard, it's easier to get out. So I came in open with my half guard here. Then I close the lever gradually. And that should pretty much blend this line out. And you can see here that I'm not really using the corner as much as I did on the side. And that's because laying the clipper flat against the head here, we don't have to be as cautious just because it is a bigger area to work with. And now we're coming in with our 2 guard open just like we did on the other side. Trying our best to blend into the length on the sides as best as possible. So this is our 2 guard open coming off the shape of his head here. And now we're going to follow that up with our 1.5 open. And we're just attacking that line. And then right here I just closed the lever. And you can really see that taper start to come together here. And now we are going to line up the nape area. So I want to comb the hair down. And I'm gonna start at the top of his ear, and what this is going to do is help me to prevent going up too high around the ear. So I want to start at the top, and then I'm gonna go to the bottom, keeping it as natural as possible, and then I'm gonna meet it in the middle, and that's how I'm gonna get that nice crisp line on the neck nape area without, you know, digging into the hair too much. And you can see what putting in the line does. It kind of really makes the taper pop and brings out any imperfections or things you need to go back and clean up. And now we're gonna move on to the other side and do the same exact thing. And you want to make sure that you're letting the weight of the trimmer do the work, because this can really tend to be a sensitive area, and you don't want to cause any redness or irritation, or, you know, make his skin welt if the clippers are too sharp. So I'm just letting the weight of the trimmer do the work. I'm tapping and I'm going. And right here I came to my 2 guard, and that's because his previous haircut we put 2 parts there behind his ear, so I had to grab my 2 guard to go ahead and you know, try to blend those out as best as I could. And now we're gonna go ahead and move on to his front lineup. So I'm gonna start in the middle, and then I'm gonna move to either the left or right side. And right here I'm just trying to keep it as natural as possible, while again getting it as crispy and as sharp as possible. And since we are lining up more so his bangs and not where his natural lineup is at, you want to make sure that you're constantly combing the hair down to make sure you get all those you know, loose and flyaway hairs. And now for the arch, I'm gonna start at the top of his arch, and then I'm gonna go to the bottom and meet it in the middle. And he doesn't have a really, you know, prominent dark you know, arch area, but I'm making sure I'm keeping it as natural as possible, not digging into it too much. And now we're gonna go ahead to the other side and do the same exact thing, starting in the middle and then moving towards his left. Just trying to get this line up as symmetrical as we can possibly get it. And you can already see those slight imperfections in the taper that we're gonna go ahead and clean up. And that's what the lineup does. It kind of frames all the work that you did and allows you to see any imperfections you need to go back and just detail. And right here I'm just doing some trimmer over comb to get rid of those dark areas. And now to darken up his lineup area, I'm going to use the color enhancement. And as you can see, his lineup is pretty sharp and straight, but I just seen some cleanup work that I need to go back and detail. And now we're going to line up his baby beard here. So we're going to start at the bottom and just, you know, clean that up. And lining it up is really just going to make it look a lot fuller. So that's what I'm doing here, just lining up the back and the bottom, keeping it as natural as we can. And now we're going to move on to the razor. Now with the razor, you want to make sure that you're stretching the client's skin, that you're pulling in the opposite direction of where you're using the razor. And what this is going to do is just take that line up to another level, get rid of all those hairs that the trimmer couldn't get. And this is a detail that not a lot of barbers do, is I use it behind the ear and on the nape area. And this is really going to make that line pop as well. And now for his beard, I'm going to start at the bottom and then go to the top and connect it in the middle. And that's how you're going to get that sharp line. And now we are going to clean up this man's eyebrows. Now with the eyebrow, I always like to keep it as natural as I can possibly get it, unless the client asks otherwise. But I'm just trying to clean up those hairs at the bottom and then right at the top, keeping that natural shape, not exaggerating any arches, you know, just to give it a more masculine look, but while at the same time keeping it clean. And he does want to you know, clean up those parts that he has in there. So I'm gonna use my trimmer just to establish those lines. We're not making it super detailed with the trimmer. And now we're gonna come in with the razor and we're just gonna hit those lines. And there's 2 sides to a line, so I went upwards and now I'm gonna go downwards. And this is gonna make it, you know, as sharp as we can. And now we're gonna go to the other side and do the same exact thing. And as you can see, he has a part on this side as well, but this one is a scar that you know, we just go ahead and press in just for the sake of, you know, kind of making it look a little cooler. But we're gonna do the same exact steps here. Just tap it in with the trimmer, and then we're gonna hit it with the razor on both sides of that line. So after we cleaned up his eyebrows, this is how it came out. I think it looks super crispy. I'm about to show you the cut here in a minute. This is a super simple taper. Family, if this helped you in any way, shape, or form, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And while you're at it, follow me at Dreclipperhands on IG, where I have a lot more dope content. But again, thank you. I will catch y'all next time.